We are live. Hey, welcome. My name is Luke, and I will be your teacher for this live English class. English learners, welcome. Non-English learners, get the heck out. or not. It's up to you. Well, in this live class, we're going to be talking about pronunciation, and we're going to talk about how to do some specific sounds really naturally. But also, I'm going to be answering questions. And if you're here watching this live, we can talk about pronunciation, we can talk about grammar, we can talk about idioms, phrases, I guess word differences, since everyone seems to think of those questions first, if you insist. But anything, right? Anything. If you didn't make it live, well, make sure you follow and or subscribe so that you can catch the next one when we're live next time. We're usually live around this time, not every day, but a couple times a week, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And also, if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you could hit the thumbs up or like button. That tells the algorithms that there's stuff happening. And also, check out my courses in the links in the description. You might notice if you've checked out the courses before that the link is different. So I've actually launched a new website. And if you want to get updates, blogs, free courses in the future, things like that, make sure you go to the website and at least subscribe to the free level membership. If not, then do whatever you want to do. I'm not your grandma. So, all right. Well, see, we have some people here already. That's very good. Ed says, hello, I was reading Narnia, but sometimes they use hullo, Hullo. How do you pronounce hullo? That is definitely a British thing. You'll sometimes see that in, for example, Harry Potter. They might say Hullo. I think it's more of a, it's like, this is my understanding, because I'm American, so I guess I can't say this with much certainty. But I think it's more like you see in Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn, classic American novels, you'll see a sort of writing as though they're trying to express the accent, right? Well, that's basically the idea. That's basically the idea, I think. And it's more like a hello, like that. You'd have to ask a British speaker for sure, but that's my understanding of it. I could be wrong. It feels a little bit friendlier, I would say, right? More casual, more relaxed. But you wouldn't want to, in a sort of formal way, write Hullo. When you have to really communicate with someone, you probably have to write Hello. But when you see dialogue in a book, right, it's going to be sometimes Hullo. Kind of like hey, maybe in America. Luke, you should do a video on accents inside the U.S. I have a video on that, actually. Thanks for asking. So I think it was Wisconsin, Southern, Eastern, New York, California, and that's about it. But you can check that video out as well. All right. Dinesh, just to let you know, you're on very thin ice. I've got my finger over a button that you probably don't want me to push. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. In other words, behave. I have the button open. It's a big red button, and it says ban forever. So be careful. Fair warning. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I want to get started with pronunciation. You guys can work on your questions, think of your questions, and then I will get to the ones I can get to today. Okay? Just give me 1 second. I'm sharing this somewhere. I'm sharing it somewhere, and then we can get started with sustained sounds. Sustained vibration sounds is what we're going to talk about. That sounds a little complicated, but it's really not. It's just an important part of English pronunciation. And we will, we will get to it. That's a promise. All right. Okay, now I have the chat open. Very good. Hey, Mary's here. Welcome, Lolly Lolly. Sachin is here. Burhiam from Facebook. I'm studying British accent and I have no idea about American accent. Well, I would suggest that you just get all accents. Learn as many as you can. Get used to them, right? That's an important thing. You want to expose yourself to as much English as you can so that you can get comfortable with it, right? I would never say, oh, don't listen to American English, right? And also, do you really want to completely copy American English or British English? If it's 100% trying to copy it and getting rid of your accent, it can sound a little bit fake, sort of put on, right? So, okay. So, there are some sounds in spoken English, and let's say specifically spoken American English, that I would like to call sustained vibration sounds. Okay? Now, what are those sounds? Well, we're going to talk about three. One is v, one is zh, and one is z. I say vibration sounds because you're vibrating the sounds inside your mouth. All voiced words that use your voice here, your voice box, all of those are, in a sense, vibrating. The vibration is here, right? But when I say vibration sounds here, we're talking about something vibrating in your mouth, either the tongue against something, and then your voice going through that. Or maybe your teeth together, and then your voice going through that. Okay, we'll talk about these with words as examples, but I want to make it really clear because it's a common issue for people learning English, whether it's British English or American English or whatever. These sounds. In some languages, the Z sound, for example, is very harsh, very hard. It's a th, 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 th. Or the W sound is either not there, not the W sound. The V sound is either not there or it's the W sound. Or it's way too hard, like a right, which is not right. Or it's the W sound, the W sound, right? So we have to be careful with that one. Now, the Z sound is probably easy for you French speakers out there. But for a lot of people, that Z sound either sounds like or the J sound. It's neither. So we got to get it right. Now, the reason I use the word sustained means you're able to continue it. And the reason I mention that is because that's the most important part of it. That's the thing that makes it what it is. When we say zh, the thing that makes it not j, is the sustain part, that it can sustain or continue going for several seconds. Right? It can go for 10 seconds. All of the ones that we're going to talk about today can be carried on for several seconds. 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It doesn't matter. That's an important thing to remember. If you can't say them for 10 seconds, it's wrong. Or at least it's not clear enough. Probably. Right? And I'm not only talking about American English. This is true for English in general, whether you're talking about British English, American English, Australian English, Canadian English, whatever. Okay? So let's go through these. We're going to start with the Z sound, the sustained Z sound, which is Z. And notice I can carry it a long time. It's not E. It's not E. It's not Z, Z, Z or Z, Z, Z. It's none of those things. So let's just talk about what to avoid. When we say this sustained Z sound, don't touch your teeth together. Zzz. My teeth are slightly apart. Zzz. Zzz. They're not. It's not together completely. They're slightly apart. a package arriving at my house. So when you say it, you're going to push your tongue up toward the roof of your mouth, but not completely closed off. You're still getting some air coming out, but not much. And you should feel your tongue vibrating. Zzz, zzz. Now, the sides of the tongue are pushed up completely against the roof of your mouth, but the front of your tongue is the part that's vibrating right behind your teeth. Zzz, zzz, zzz. Now, if this is too sharp and it sounds like zzz, 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 that means that your tongue is actually closing off the airflow. You don't want it to close off the airflow. That's a mistake. That's the hard Z sound, which may be a sound in other languages. Z, 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 z. That's when the tongue comes up from the top of the roof of the mouth and then down and then back up. Avoid that, okay? Now, we also want to avoid making it too open. If it's too open, it just sounds like the E sound. You just get the voice from your voice box back here, from your vocal cords, okay? So it's a very delicate thing. But your test should be, can I continue that sound for 5 seconds? Can we do it? Zzz. Good. All right. That might have been faster than 5 seconds. So let's try a couple words. Buzzing. Buzzing. Now you might say, wait a second. That Z is very short. Yes, I know. But the point is that it's not buzzing. Buzzing. It's buzzing. The sound is the same. And the reason I ask you to sustain it is to get the sound right. Once we have the sound right, then we can make it short. That's fine. We can make it very short. That's great. But we have to get the sound right because otherwise it's going to be buzzing, buzzing, which we want to avoid. That sounds like there's a D in the word or something. We want to avoid it. Zoom. Very, very popular and relevant these days, right? We need to say this word a lot. One of the common mistakes for this one is to say zoom, 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 zoom. Hear the difference? Zoom, zoom, zoom. It should be that long sound, but you can shorten it, but you should be able to stretch it out if you want to. Okay, next one. At the end of a word, rise, rise. Now notice this is the S, but it's still the Z sound. Rise, rise, rise. You can carry it long if you want to. All right, so that's the Z. Now let's talk about that zh sound that's difficult for a lot of people. The zh. Okay. The first thing we have to do is say what it isn't. It isn't J. J is j, 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 j. So the mouth position is very similar to J, 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 except J releases j, j. Right? It changes, whereas j doesn't release. It stays the same. It's flat. The mouth position is very, very close, except there's no release. J. It's not like that. That's how we say J, right? We release it. We throw it out there, and then it's done. We can't sustain the J sound, but we can sustain a similar mouth position that doesn't release. J. Okay, so we try a few words. Oh, by the way, avoid making it too open, just like we did with Z. If it's too open, then we would say, that's just R, basically. So it's close to R, but the tongue is coming up further. Notice if I move my tongue up after the R sound, it becomes the Z sound. It's just closer to the roof of my mouth. Closer. Okay, let's try a few words with this one. Usually. That's the classic one, right? You should be able to stretch it long if you need to. Usually. Usually. Okay? How about decision? Decision. 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 Again, decision. Genre. Genre. Now this is a G. Same thing. Genre. 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 Again, you should be able to stretch it long if you want to, but that doesn't mean that you do that in the word itself. All right. Now, we've covered 2 so far. We have 1 left to go, and that one is V. Now, the mistakes with V are sometimes that it's too hard, like how we talked about the V, and the j sound being J, right? So sometimes people say it's too hard, but the most common issue is probably that it gets mixed up with W, right? So the mouth shape is simple, but we got to remember it and do it every time. Bottom lip to top teeth. And you should feel a strong vibration in your bottom lip. If you don't feel that strong vibration, it might sound like ooh, like there's just air coming out of your mouth. That's not right. It's got to be a strong vibration of air coming through your teeth, vibrating the bottom lip. And a little bit of wind as well. We want some air flowing through so that it makes that sort of wind noise. Okay? Be careful not to make the W sound. Got to be very, very careful about that one. Okay, a few examples. Love, love. Now, could we just say love, love, love? Sounds the same, right? Love, 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 love. Oh, no. We have to make the V at the end. Love. And we should be able to continue it long if we need to. Love. I know that sounds weird, but it's a good way to practice. If you want to practice any of these, practice stretching out that sound very long. All right? How about visit, visit, visit? Be careful not to say visit. That's different. Visit, visit, visit. Okay? How about remove, remove, remove? Now, this one is harder for people because you have to bring it back after the M. Move, move, v. And you should be able to make it long if you want to. Move. I know it sounds weird, but that's the basic idea, and that's how you practice it. You practice it by making it long, by sustaining it. Then you get into the habit of doing it correctly so that when you speak, then it comes out naturally, even though it's not always going to be that long, right? It comes out naturally by itself, okay? Hopefully those three are clear. You have to practice them a billion times until they become habits for you. Once they become habits, then you don't have to think about it when you're speaking, which is good. All right? So if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you follow or subscribe. Check out my courses in the links in the description. And again, comments if you're not sure about any of this. Comments. All right. Okay. Hey, guys. Wow, a lot of comments here. Farzana, Karina. Hello, Karina. How are you? Because I'm sounding weird like buzzing. How is our pal Dinesh behaving? Is he behaving? I hope so. I hope so. I see the high quality teaching here. Congratulations. Thank you so much, Mary. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. All right, guys. So now we're going to do questions. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will do my best to answer them. Is it good to read old English books or new ones? That's actually a really interesting question. Sajeda, is that how you say your name? That's a very cool question. That's the kind of question that you come up with after you really think about it, you know? Okay, so maybe we can talk about that. We'll talk about this one in a second. Can you say disgusting in a Scottish accent? No. I don't know how to do a Scottish accent very well. Can you? How do Scottish people say disgusting? I get mixed up between the Irish English accent and Scottish English accent. No, I'm not even going to try it because I'm just going to fall on my face. I'd love to try it. I'd love to improve my Scottish English accent. I wish it were great, but it's not great, unfortunately. All I can say is great because of because of Austin Powers. That's about it. How do you use the conditional time? You mean conditionals? Using conditionals in English? Can you be a little more specific? Scottish is more or less the same as German. I don't know if people would agree with that. There's a difference between German and Germanic, right? So Germanic is a language family, but it's not the same as German. German just happens to share the name with Germanic, but German is just as different from Germanic, generally speaking, as English is. It's not like English came out of German. English came out of Germanic, or what is called Proto-Germanic. They evolved out of that earlier language, and many other languages evolved out of it too. Many other languages throughout Europe evolved out of what's called Proto-Germanic. But just because German is called German doesn't make it necessarily more Germanic or Proto-Germanic than the other languages that are its cousins. Really, you can consider English and German to be pretty much direct cousins of each other, both stemming from Proto-Germanic, which is more of a culture that then probably had a common language, or at least very closely related languages. And then English became more different in a lot of ways because it had strong influences from other places. It had a strong influence from France. It had a very strong influence from Nordic. Old Norse, right, influenced English quite a lot. And then it changed for other reasons as well. So it's a complicated history for English, but I don't think the claim that Scottish English is the same as German is well, I'm not an expert in any languages necessarily of Europe, but I would want to hear that from someone who speaks both languages natively. Sado says, "Hi Luke, I want to know what's the difference between close and near." Interesting. Actually, that's a pretty easy one. Close and near, in the way that we use to talk about proximity, mean the same thing. Okay? It's near me, it's close to me. So the form is slightly different. Near doesn't have to have to, right? We can say it's near me, it's close to me, or it's close by. It's close by. We can also say it's nearby. Nearby, it's nearby, one word, right? So those are the same, but then there are other ways to use, for example, the word close that are different from near. So it's that Venn diagram thing where there are overlapping meanings when we're talking about physical proximity or relationships between people, right? Then we can say, absolutely, we can say that they're the same. But there are many cases in which they are not the same. That's how it works. Rarely do you get two words that are 100% synonyms all the time, right? Usually they're synonyms 50% of the time or 40% of the time. And then they each have their own use cases outside of that, which mean other things. Oh, Nectar's here. Hello, Nectar. Good to see you all. Okay, so I'm going to answer, is it very strong ER at the end sounds more or less the same? Is it very strong ER at the end sounds more or less the same? Not sure if I understand that example 100%, or that question 100%. Hey, Luke, I want to know what's the difference between close and near. Yeah, got that one. Okay, so we're going to talk about either Sajeda or Sayeda. Saheda? Maybe Saheda's question. Maybe Saheda. That sounds right. Okay, so Saheda says, is it good to read Old English books or new ones? And this is a really interesting question, so I appreciate it. Now, it really depends on what your project is. What are you trying to do? What are your goals? And when we say Old English books, let's be clear about what we mean. Nobody is saying Old English as in what is called Old English, the language. This is something that very few people actually know. If I were to read an Old English sentence, I would not understand it. I would have no understanding of it other than maybe one word every 100 words, right? It's different. It's really different. Okay, so we're not talking about OLDE English. We're talking about classic books, I think. Something like, we could say, as far back as Shakespeare, maybe, or even more recent, like Sherlock Holmes, or some of those classic novels that are considered classics, like Moby Dick, right? That sort of thing. Written in a style that is not considered modern spoken English. One thing to point out is that written English is different from spoken English in a lot of ways. When you read even a modern book, as simple as Harry Potter, you're going to notice that it's not written in the way that people speak, right? The dialogue will be close to how people speak. The words that people say, the characters say in the story, will be close to how people speak in modern times today. But the descriptions of the castle and the grounds and the characters, these will be written in what's called prose, and the literary style is just different from how we actually speak day to day. So that's important to note. So whenever you're reading something, you're getting something that's not spoken English. That's the first thing. You have to be okay with that. But that's good, right? You're getting a foundation in the language. Now, if your goal is just to learn how people use English now, today, and you want to read as much as possible in that way, then you should probably read something like nonfiction, right? Nonfiction is usually written in a pretty simple, fairly conversational style, and it's not overly creative or meant to describe, beautiful images and mountains and things like that. Usually, nonfiction is written in a simple and a clear style, usually at the 8th grade level, to communicate information. And it's not to say it's totally spoken English. No. It's just easier to read than novels in the way that most prose, most fictional, let's say, prose, is written. That might sound a little weird. You might say, wait a second, nonfiction is easier to read than fiction? I think so, yeah. I think it generally is easier to read. Fewer creative, odd words used. Okay. So, yeah, if you just want to get a foundation in written English now, and you want to start something, I would recommend reading nonfiction, contemporary, modern nonfiction. If you want to get a whole picture of the language, and you want to have the same experience of the language and the same foundation of the language that a native speaker gets when they're in school, then I would encourage you to read everything as much as you can, as much as you can handle, as much as you can understand, including older literature, Moby Dick, Sherlock Holmes. By the way, Sherlock Holmes is a great series to read. Yes, there's a lot of language there that's not typical or modern, not contemporary, but you're still building up your foundation, your awareness of the language, right? Your feeling for how the language is used. Just because you wouldn't say this exactly as maybe Sherlock Holmes says it, or as Arthur Conan Doyle says it in Sherlock Holmes, just because you wouldn't say that exactly doesn't mean that you shouldn't know it and you shouldn't have a feeling for it. All of that is part of your foundation. So if you're interested, if you're interested in setting up a foundation of the language, read whatever you can. If it's way too hard, if you tried reading Hamlet and you're reading Shakespeare and you think, what the heck is this? I don't understand. All right, skip it. That's fine. But I think something like Sherlock Holmes, maybe something like Moby Dick, or though some of those older classic novels can be really, really good for setting up or helping you build that foundation. In addition to nonfiction, in addition to modern fiction, you're getting these different styles. This is your foundation. I think there's this problem that a lot of people have where they say, I'm only going to learn what I would say, right? But the thing is, what people say is not only based on learning what they would say, right? In other words, I speak the way I speak not because I've only learned the kind of things that I would say. Sounds weird. I speak the way I speak because I have built a large foundation of all kinds of inputs, including watching movies and talking to people throughout my entire life, and news, and reading articles online, and interacting with people, and playing video games, and reading books, and watching presentations, and whatever kind of input that I've had in my entire life. That massive foundation makes up my bank of what's possible for me to say. And I can't say, oh, that's not useful and that is. I can't separate out which pieces of that foundation help me and which ones don't. They're all this sort of tapestry, this thing woven together that make up my ability to say what I say, whatever it may be. And I may say only a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of what I know, but again, I can't say that's not useful. Delete that one. Right? I read King Lear in high school. Delete my memory of it. No, I wouldn't do that. So I hope that, I know it's a roundabout way to say it, but I hope that kind of answers your question. It depends on what you're trying to do. My recommendation would be to read as much as you can and as wide as you can, and you'll benefit from it, even though that's a longer term project. But just picking out nonfiction and reading that, that's okay too. It's okay too. I read mostly now nonfiction, but when I was growing up, a lot of novels, a lot of classic literature in middle school and high school, and some in university as well. So I hope that answers your question. It's a great question. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up or the like button. I would really appreciate that. Also, check out my courses in the links in the description, and follow and subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Okay. Okie. How do I pronounce? So the news organization is pronounced Reuters, I believe. The news organization is pronounced Reuters. The book of Dale Carnegie was different too, in my opinion. Maybe that's not old enough. Well, Dale Carnegie, the book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah, I think I've read it a couple times. It's a great book. And yeah, there might be some things that are slightly outdated, but it is reasonably contemporary, modern English written in a simple nonfiction style. And it's a great book. I would recommend it to anybody. Dale Carnegie. Yeah, it's a famous book. Very, very famous book. Pardon me, I have to wipe my nose a little bit. I know that's gross, but I have no choice. There is nothing else I can do. How do you pronounce TWO and TO? They're the same. TOO, TWO, and TO are pronounced exactly the same. Two. The same. Also, AISLE, ISLE, and I''LL, IL. These are called homophones. That means they sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Phone means sound. Homo means same sound. Homophones. Homographs are written the same, but sound different. Yeah. So, for example, BOW, an action, to bow, the verb. But what about a bow on a gift, right? Or bow and arrow. Same spelling, BOW. Different pronunciation, different meaning. Those are homographs. Homographs and homophones. Interesting stuff. Wasaka, I know you've been asking this question 1,000 times. I would want to do a little more. That's a question that I think would require a little bit more preparation on my part. Some questions are kind of like Luba asked a question about the word though, right? That I can try to answer, but it would be incomplete, and I think I would be able to come up with better examples if I had some time to really think about it and write down the examples. So I'm going to skip your question. So you can stop pasting it in. I don't want to answer it, but thank you for asking. I appreciate it. Do you know why watch a series is easier to understand than listen a rap song? Yes, because rap music or much music, a lot of musical lyrics, you write music to rhyme, right? And you break every rule in the book when you're writing music. There's no similarity with lyrics in music to much of spoken English, right? I think learning English with music is a terrible idea. Personally, I think it's awful. People say, "Oh yeah, you should learn English with music." Now, only if you're interested in the lyrics and the lyrics pull you through, right? And that's something you like. But you're not learning spoken English when you read music lyrics necessarily. People can say whatever they want in music lyrics. There are no rules. Whereas at least in a movie or something or a TV series, they're going to speak intelligibly so that they can be understood. So, yeah, I say music is the last place where you should be learning English, in my opinion. Can I improve my English by listening and read articles? And what do you advise me to read? Well, as I was just talking about, perhaps starting with simple nonfiction related to something in your interest would be good. Simple nonfiction related to your interests. Like, here's a good book. This is if someone wants to start their own company or start their own project. This is called The $100 Startup. And it's a good book if you are one of those people who might consider, either having a side thing or doing something on your own. And it's not hard to understand. It's written in a very simple way. Sometimes the novels are a little too complicated and a little too hard to understand. As you learn more about your customers and what they want, you may find yourself overwhelmed with ideas. There's nothing hard about that, right? There's nothing difficult about that. So, yeah, this kind of book is great to read, and it's a good place to start because it's not hard. Anyone should be able to understand it. Any kind of book like that. There are lots I can recommend, but that's a good one. I've read that one twice. A lot of useful ideas in there too, by the way. Useful ideas for your life. Yoon Lee says, I feel cabin fever. I wonder if New York is okay now. Yeah, I'm having a bit of cabin fever myself. I'm starting to think that there is no such thing as the real world outside of my apartment, that it's all just sort of a background landscape, like a video game. I can see it like a video game, but I know it's not really there. And the only thing that's real is my apartment, the inside of my apartment, my cats, my wife, and that's it, right? And you guys, obviously, you're real. I think. I hope. If this is all in my imagination, well, I don't know. This coffee would be a little hotter if this was in my imagination. He already explained that difference between either and neither. See the previous videos. Thank you for pointing that out. I did. So that brings up one point though. Not everybody can watch the live classes, and I was getting a lot of comments of people saying, I missed the live stream. I wish I had been there to see it, but I missed it. But at the same time, I don't always have time to watch the whole thing. It's an hour and a half long. I'm a busy person, right? Busy in my lockdown, whatever, taking care of my kids, or whatever you're doing. Well, so what I've done is I've started posting questions as clips, taking highlights from it if someone has a question, and posting it separately. And I've tried to post one a day, basically one every day. And you can subscribe to the other second YouTube channel to get those if you want them. If you don't, that's fine. But there's the second YouTube channel. You can go to the main Cloud English YouTube page, and you can see on the right side recommended. One of those is English Lessons by Cloud English. I'm trying to post one video per day there so that people can at least have access to, if they didn't watch the live streams, some of the questions that were answered, like either and neither, right? But I'm also starting to put them out on Facebook, so you can watch them there as well, probably for the near future at least. Hi, could you please tell me what is the difference between dictionaries like Merriam-Webster, Cambridge, Oxford, Longman, etc.? Which one should I choose? Yeah, that's a good question. They're all. I wouldn't dismiss any of these, right? Because they're all valuable in their own way, right? I've noticed that the Oxford dictionaries. This is just my opinion, okay? The Oxford dictionaries examples that they give are sometimes a little awkward and not very natural. And Webster tends to have, if they do have examples for it, slightly better ones. Just my opinion. I mean, they're all good. They're all professional dictionaries. And so I wouldn't tell anybody, hey, don't use those. Don't use this one. I wouldn't say that. I would never say that. Now, personally speaking, by the way, I don't recommend Urban Dictionary because it's a wild west of things, some completely random stuff that no one would ever say. That's 90% of the website is stuff that nobody will ever use. I personally, this is just me, you don't have to follow what I think, but I think the best dictionary, perhaps by far, if I can risk saying that, perhaps way better than any of these, is thefreedictionary.com. They don't pay me to say that. They should pay me to say it, but they don't. I don't think they know who I am, but that's okay. I always recommend them because they are really, really good. There's an exploration tool for looking at synonyms between words visually. You can search words by beginning and by ending, by other pieces, words that rhyme, and so on. You can search idioms, expressions that are common, and you can search by word so that you can see, for example, all the idioms that include the word into. Really interesting stuff. It's extremely useful, and they have lots of very natural examples. I don't think I've ever encountered an example that's been weird or unnatural or strange in their idioms and and their dictionary. So yeah, that's my favorite personally. That's what I use, So I think that's better than all of them. Hey, Yun Yong Lee, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. I'm gonna get a cup of coffee with that. 1,000 thank yous. How to change the Indian accent to become the American accent. Could you please tell some tips? Yeah, that's a tough one, but the biggest one is, okay, so there are two sounds. Adam says how to change the Indian accent to become the American accent. Could you please tell some tips? There are a bunch of pieces of every accent. Every accent has its own characteristic, right? But there are two that I think are pretty big ones that can at least lessen the strength, if you want to. And I don't care if you do or not. It's your goal, your thing. But if you want to, there are two sounds that are big in the Indian English accent. One is to replace the D sound of English with a deeper, richer, harder D sound, which is simply about tongue positioning, right? And I've spent a lot of time moving my tongue back and forth to try to figure out the difference between those two, specifically for the Indian accent. In the Indian sound, the D sound is farther back. Right? My tongue is all the way back in the soft part. It's called the soft palate. Instead, if we move the tongue forward and we place it right on the ridge of the hard palate, not directly behind the teeth, but on that ridge, in that comfortable place right there, and you lift the tongue up and you put it there, then it sounds like this. Duh, duh, duh. Grr, grr, grr. Duh, duh, duh. Grr, grr. Duh, duh. You hear the difference? In the case of the duh, duh, the sound is thinner. It's not as heavy. It's not quite as rich as the grr, grr sound. But the only difference there is that the tongue is flatter and it's pushed farther forward. That's it. Okay? Now, the other one is that we talked about earlier, the W and the V mix-up sound, right? So, as many people will say in the Indian pronunciation, to replace the W with the V, waiting, for example, waiting, waiting, ding, ding. So there's that D sound there. You want to make that lighter, ding, or ting, but sometimes we can say the D sound for our own T because we have this, it's called the light D. We say instead of waiting, we say waiting, waiting, waiting. It's a very light D sound. And then the other one is to make sure that the lips are pushed forward. Whoa, 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 whoa. So whenever we want to make the V sound, when we say words like village, village, then we put it there with the bottom lip pushed up to the top teeth. Va, 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 va. But it's very important when it is a W sound to make sure it's a clear, distinguished W sound with the lips pushed forward, air coming out, and the cheeks slightly moved by the air moving out, right? If it's too open, then it's like this. Oh, we don't want that. We want it to be so close together that the cheeks are ever so slightly pushed out by the air moving outward. Woo, woo. Because when that happens, you get that sort of whooshing effect that is part of the W sound. Woo, not the whoo, whoo. That's not quite right either. That's, for example, in words like, what would be a good one? Who. Okay, yeah, who would be a good one. Who. You get that whoo, whoo, rushing effect, right? But for most W words, even words that include an H, we still have a bit of air pushing the cheeks out, but it's a little bit smoother and doesn't have that wind sound. White, 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 white. Not white, right? Not too close together. White, but just white, white. And the air is pushing my cheeks out a little bit. So those are two. And we could probably do a breakdown of every specific sound off the top of my head. I can't, right? But those are two big ones. And I think if you work on those two specific sounds, you could lessen it a little bit. And in particular, that D sound, it's very simple. All you're doing is moving the tongue from the back, forward, up, or in the case of, for example, water, 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 even the T sound. That's a T sound, but we're not saying water, water, right? We're still saying a very light D sound. Water, 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 water. That's how most native English speakers will say it. So hopefully that makes sense. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button or thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Also, don't forget to check out my courses in links in the description and subscribe, follow if you haven't already. That's very important so that you can see future videos. All right. Good question. It's a good one, but it's a tough one, and I think it requires, if we're really going to work on that, my dream someday is to help every single accent around the world, like with a partner, having someone with an accent that they want to improve and actually sitting down with them and doing a full course with them to work on the specific sound pieces and do a lesson per accent or several lessons per accent. That's a dream I have. However, it's going to be a tough one to achieve. Because number one, I want to do it. I want to do it without being offensive, right? Because when I do that sound, I don't want to offend anybody, but you got to do it in a way that's sort of with the right intention. I don't know how to say it, but with the intention of actually helping people who want help without mocking the sound, because I don't want to do that either. So it's a delicate balance, I think, and it's something that I really want to do in the future, but I'm not sure how or when or with whom to do it. Maybe when I have more resources, I can, fly somewhere in the world, sit down with someone. Okay, you say this sentence, then I'll say it, then you say it, then I say it, then that would be so cool, I think. That would be so cool. I'd like to do like a world tour of accent fixing. That sounds weird, but that's what I want to do. Could you tell me the difference between being not wrong and being true in relationships? Being not wrong and being true. Mary, I'm not sure about that one. I don't know what it means to be true necessarily. To be true. I'm not sure. Sure thing, Adam. If you have any other specific sounds you want me to say that you struggle with, let me know. Learn English by listening. Ma Diaz says, how long will it take? Knowing that I understand everything you say, my level is average. Okay. So this is something I often talk about too. A common comment that I get is, hey, wait a second. Luke, I understand everything you say. That's great. Why don't I understand movies? Right? And some of you will have heard me say this 1,000 times. It's because I'm not saying a lot of things. I'm deciding not to say many things. And in movies, they're not deciding not to say many things. They're letting idioms and social context, expressions and references to local cultural things come out of their mouths. It's not the words. It's the references. It's not only the speed. It's the references to the culture. And so part of understanding is knowing words and vocabulary. But a big part of understanding, much more than what most people think, is knowing the references within the culture. Knowing that if I say something, I'm not just saying words, but I'm referencing something that I know you know. And I know you know it because we grew up in the same culture, right? And if you didn't, it's hard to know. And that's what makes English, in some ways, really hard to learn. But that is also why watching movies is a good idea, because you can pick up a lot of that cultural stuff, the cultural aspects, and sort of begin to feel it. Yes, maybe not everything, but you can begin to feel it. I mean, a great example would be someone like PewDiePie. So, if you don't know who PewDiePie is, you should look him up. I'm sure you probably do. He's the largest YouTuber, single individual YouTuber in the world. Right? There's a channel that's bigger than his, but he's the largest individual YouTuber. I think he has 105 million subscribers, something like that. Now, PewDiePie is from Sweden, and he started doing YouTube 10 years ago, right? If you watch his old videos, and he started posting every single day, it's mostly gameplay videos, and it's a large mix of Swedish and English that's kind of strong accented, right? Strongly accented English. He has a strong accent with his English, and he uses a lot of Swedish when he's speaking. So over time, gradually, over 10 years, that started to change. So that now you get a little bit of Swedish, but it's mostly when he's saying bad words. And otherwise, his videos are all in English. And you can see over the 10 years how he began to pick up English not only in terms of the words and phrases, because he actually knew English very well from the beginning, but he gained in confidence and he gained in the social understanding, the connotative understanding, the things that are references to other things. One of his famous segments is called Meme Review. And in Meme Review, basically, they're looking at internet memes. What is more culturally connected than memes? Nothing, almost, right? So because he sort of went into the deep end of the swimming pool of English-speaking culture and got involved with the meme world. He got involved with maybe movies and TV shows that he probably watches on his own and communicated mostly with English speakers, maybe looking at comments of native English speakers. His English improved a lot. Again, when he started, I think his knowledge of English was very high in terms of vocabulary. But as he gained confidence and started to move his channel closer toward the English-speaking world, let's say, because I think most of his fans are from English-speaking countries, he began to pick up a lot of new things, especially the cultural stuff, the cultural meaning. Not only memes, but references to movies, right? References to perhaps politics, the news, all of that stuff that you get when you grow up in a native English-speaking country. He began to swim around in that more. And I think that started with games, but then went to everything on the internet and probably movies, TV shows, everything, right? And now if you watch him speaking in English, it's much different from what it was when he started. When he started, you can tell that he's trying really hard. He's really concentrating and focused, trying to express himself clearly, always stopping to second guess what he's saying. And now he just speaks effortlessly in English and knows every single reference to everything. In fact, probably knows way more than I do because he has a meme show basically now. So he's a good example to look at if you watch his older videos and his newer videos, because he provides a sort of path for improving in the not only the language and vocabulary aspect, but also the cultural references aspect, which is really important. And a lot of people don't realize how important that is. It's extremely important. So check out his videos and then figure out how you can start to swim in the language yourself. That doesn't only mean watching TV shows and watching movies. That means getting involved in online communities. That means having conversations and discussions in English. That means memes online, everything that you can do to surround yourself with the language, to create an English language environment, you should do, because it'll help you improve. And when someone says something in the future, instead of saying, okay, I know what words you said, but I don't understand, because you don't know the cultural reference, you'll say, oh yeah, I get that, because I know the reference and the words, and that's the key. All right, so find your own swimming pool, jump into it, start swimming around. That's the best way to begin. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments, by the way. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe and follow. And also check out my courses in the links in the description. PewDiePie. He always says, PewDiePie. Or he used to say that. I don't think he says it anymore that often. But he is a good example to watch, though. If you go to his early videos, it's pretty big difference between his English then and his English now. Could you please tell me the difference between... What is the best place to travel in America? Thanks for your courses. That's a good question. I think you should start a channel telling stories, summaries, questions. People may observe your accent and try to say it. People may also use it to get good marks in exams. Well, I'm going to be doing more stories in the future on my channel. And if people don't want to watch the stories, they don't have to. I will keep it on this channel, I think. I already have two other YouTube channels. So, I was wondering, how would you keep yourself motivated during this time? Can you give us some tips? Oh, okay. Well, for me, it's easy, right? I have a huge project that I'm working on. And when I have a huge project and I want to finish it, I'm very motivated because it's not finished. And it not being done, it not being done is my main motivation. It drives me crazy. to have it not done. But it's so big that it's over a year long project. And so if you have no purpose or thing to work on, I would imagine it would be very boring to be locked in lockdown or in your house. But I don't feel that way. I'm constantly busy. I feel like I don't have enough time in the day to do all the things I need to do to get my big project done, which is, by the way, finishing 9 courses by the end of, hopefully, November, but we'll see. That's my goal. At least by the end of the year, but hopefully by the end of November. 9 new courses. By the way, I have just launched a new website. The new website has 11 courses on it. You can check it out. There are a couple of different ways to use it. You can just sign up as a free member and I'll be doing blogs and more free courses in the future. So you can sign up as a free member. Or you can sign up for a membership. And the membership includes access to all of the courses, the paid courses. So you pay that membership every month, and you can constantly access all the courses. And I will be putting up more courses throughout the year. So something to consider, or you can buy them individually. So I have 11 courses there now. It's just launched. It's in the link in the description. Check it out if you're interested. At least you can subscribe to the newsletter. That would be cool. It's lukepriddy.com. That's the website. I was wondering, how would you keep your... Yeah, I already read that one. What can I watch TV? What can I watch? Why did you post your comments so many times, Madias? What can I watch as TV shows or American YouTube podcasts? Well, whatever you're interested in. I mean, probably the most famous podcast is the Joe Rogan Experience, right? That's a good one. He posts pretty much every day, and they're long interviews. If you want to practice your listening, the Joe Rogan Experience would be a very good choice, I think. If you're not interested in that sort of thing and you want to listen to a podcast, maybe some people like Sam Harris. It's called Waking Up, maybe, with Sam Harris. And he speaks very slowly and very clearly. He focuses more on psychology and that sort of complex topic. Other podcasts, well, personally, maybe one of my favorite podcasts is the H3 podcast. That may be good because you're getting some pop culture stuff. They talk about a lot of pop culture and things going on now, trends and things like that. I usually get my dose of popular culture from the H3 podcast. I'm a fan. I don't know why I like it. It's not the kind of thing that I would normally like, but I do for some reason. It's crazy. And then, let's see. Yeah, in terms of YouTube channels, I mean, whatever you're interested in. I don't know. Follow your interest. Let your interest be the guide. Be the thing that guides you. Don't force yourself. Oh, Luke said to watch Joe Rogan Experience. I really hate the Joe Rogan Experience. But he said I should watch it, so I will. That's not the right way to think. The right way to think is, what is interesting to you? Then when you're interested in something, it gives you energy to do it, right? So you can improve your English through your interest, right? Follow your interests. What do I like? Do I like psychology? Do I like science? Do I like pop culture? Do I like video games? What do you like? First, ask yourself that question, and then find YouTube channels and podcasts based on that. Does that make sense? Yeah. I like listening to All Ears English Podcast. All right, cool. I haven't heard of that one, but that sounds good. All Ears English Podcast. Nice. Hi again. Did you Google Robert Anton Wilson? I did. Yeah, I did a little bit of reading on Robert Anton Wilson. I think the tab is still open on my browser. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay. I want to answer Sabo's question, not Sado, Sabo. So Sabo says, in your opinion, what is the best place to travel in America? For your opinion. Actually, should be in. Sabo says, for your opinion, which should be in your opinion, what is the best place to travel in America? And thanks for your courses. Well, you're welcome. Thanks for checking out my courses. So this is a good question, but I think first it's important to say, well, it depends on what you like. Some people, when they travel, like to shop and do fun, exciting things and go to shows and be in an exciting environment, right? Some people like peace and quiet and natural beauty. So it depends on what you like when you travel. Now, I live in New York. Personally, I think it's a great place to travel if you like that kind of thing. What kind of thing? New York has amazing museums. The Metropolitan Museum of Art is a great museum. It's so interesting. I've been there probably 10 times. I go there regularly because I love it. It's awesome. And I would recommend, if anyone visits New York, that you go there. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has art from all over the world throughout time. It's really great. If you don't like museums, by the way, there are many other great museums. New York has Broadway shows, other performances. There's always something going on in New York. New York is a busy city. There are events like crazy. And they're not all expensive events. There are free events that you can join. All kinds of free events. Every single day there are free events, conferences, book readings, tours, performances, plays, movies. There's so many things to do in New York, you could never say, I'm bored. There's always something to do. And it's an exciting, active city with great food, a lot of diversity. For example, I live in Queens. Amazing food in Queens. Amazing, amazing. So I would strongly recommend, if you come to America and you want that kind of experience, New York is great. Now, it is pretty crowded. So if you want a less crowded big city, then maybe something like LA is good. But it's a totally different feeling in LA on the West Coast. Very different. It's more wide open. It's more widespread. But, of course, the weather is probably going to be more pleasing to most people. It's very sunny. New York is often cloudy and not always, obviously, but more so. And LA is, famous for having a lot of shopping. And there are, of course, many things to do there as well. Now, what about natural beauty, natural scenery? Well, I would recommend, if you can, drive through the southwest of the United States. Joshua Tree National Park, Arches is another national park. The whole southwest area, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, Southern California, all of those places, New Mexico, all of those places, you'll see scenery that will blow your mind. Beautiful scenery. Like an alien planet. I went there a couple of years ago. One of the most impressive places I've ever been in my life was Arches. It's called Arches National Park, perhaps? It has these huge stone, naturally carved by wind, stone archways. And it's insanely beautiful. Colorado, too. Colorado is a very beautiful place. Snow-capped mountains, very mountainous, right? Extremely beautiful. So the Southwest is a great place to go if you like natural beauty. That would be my recommendation. As for other places, yeah, there are interesting cities. Seattle's a cool city. I used to live there. Boston is interesting, I guess. Florida is okay. Okay. But really, my two top recommendations would be the Southwest for natural beauty and New York for the exciting city experience, diversity. Yeah. Those are my suggestions. It's very personal. It's very subjective, right? But that's just what I would recommend. And if you do come to New York, let me know. Okay. Good question. I would like to go to Boston and see Harvard. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. What's the difference between rather and prefer? I think I answered that one before. They're the same, but they're used differently. I would rather go, I prefer to go. I would rather go, I prefer to go. I would rather go, I prefer to go. Something in my eye. What's your recommendation of crime psychology movies? I don't know. I don't have one. Crime psychology. Yeah. I liked a series called, what was it called? It was called Maniac on Netflix. That was a good series. Not exactly crime, but it's very psychological. Very interesting series. Black Mirror is not so much crime as well, but it's also a great series. Futurism. Near future, scary near future stuff. Black Mirror is great. What does it mean to come up with something? That's a good question. I like that question. Jova here? I'm not sure how to say that. Says, what does it mean to come up with something? Now, I think that we can do a literal example, and then that will tell us the more common usage of this. Now, the literal example means the actual physical meaning. And then, which it's less common, by the way, and then we can understand the common usage, which is not exactly literal. So, imagine you are snorkeling. That means you have something in your mouth. You have goggles on in a beautiful tropical sort of seaside area. You're in the water snorkeling over the coral reef. And you see something down there. What is that? It's a shipwreck that no one has discovered before. Amazing. And it's something that you can actually reach. So you dive down, and you almost out of breath, and then you see there a golden necklace. You didn't know it's actually cursed, but you didn't know that at the time. It's cursed. But anyway, it's a golden necklace, and you see it, and you grab it. Oh, my God. A gold in a shipwreck. Amazing. And you come up to the surface. You come up with something. And you say to your friends, hey, I found this golden necklace. And then you turn into a zombie because it's cursed. But the point is, you went down, you got something, and you came up with it. Okay? So it's sort of like the depths, this mysterious dark area contains the riches. And you grab something there and bring it to the surface where everyone can see it. Right? You come up to the surface and show it. All right. Now, how is this related to the common usage of come up with? That's not so common. The common usage is when we have a new idea. We find a solution to something that people didn't think of. We're faced with a problem. We are creative in a way, and we make a new story. Or we have a story, and we have an idea that might fit into a story that nobody else thought of. When we talk about that process, we say we come up with things. We come up with a good solution to a problem. We come up with a good story idea. We come up with ideas to solve a problem in a story that we're writing. We come up with a plan for maybe doing something, whatever it may be, right? We come up with a proposal. We come up with a suggestion. We use it for all of these. In fact, it's hard for me to talk about it without using come up with because it's so common. Oh, you came up with a really good idea for that. Oh, you came up with that idea yesterday for whatever problem we're dealing with. Genius. Genius. I just came up with an idea about how we could... I can't come up with a good actual problem. I can't come up with anything. If I can't come up with anything, that means I don't have any ideas in my head about what it might be. So I say, I came up with a great solution to... I say because I can't come up with a good real example that might sound realistic. See, even when I fail, I can at least teach you something, hopefully. But it's the same basic idea. You're going down into the dark places of your mind, or whatever the creative ideas come from, this place that's hidden, and you take it up. And up is telling others. Up is having the idea that you can communicate. Up is being able to use this thing, right? It's like there's a little person that goes, doo, and then returns with the thing that you got. The golden necklace, in this case, is the idea, is the solution, is the plan, is the story. Whatever it is that you got, that you made, that you created, right? And it can be used for so many different things, but it's usually associated with creative thinking and a new idea, or a new idea, okay? That's how we use it. And it comes from that more physical meaning. But they're related, right? They are related. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that thumbs up button or the like button. Also, check out my courses in the links in the description. New website is up. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow or subscribe so that you can see future courses, future videos, future live lessons, all of that stuff. All right? All right. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I love watching MMA, UFC, therefore Joe Rogan podcasts would suit me. Yes, although Joe Rogan doesn't always talk about UFC. They do special MMA shows, right? But yeah, if you like that, definitely a good choice. I got MA of Art History. New York City has great museums like the Metropolitan. MoMA, as you said. I wish COVID was finished soon. I'm not a big fan of MoMA, though. I'm not a big fan of modern art so much, in fact, but that's just me. That's just me. All right, guys. I think that we're going to have to call it a day here, but thank you all so much for asking such great questions. I know I didn't get to all your questions, and I deeply and sincerely apologize for that. But hopefully I'll be able to get to them next time. And hopefully next time, if you didn't get your questions answered, you can ask them next time here, wherever you're watching. Okay? So, yep, no problem. No problem, no problem. I know that there are questions I didn't get to. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Do you have any methods to warm up your vocal cords? No. Speaking is not like singing, right? I just start. I just start. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks a million. And I'll see you guys. There should be a new video coming out on Friday, as in addition to the daily highlights that are posting. And we'll probably do either another live lesson later this week or early next week. All right? So, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the questions. And I will see you all next time. Have a good one.